morning, virtual wrestling fans. I'm Sam Schluter, the straight shooter. Woo, woo, woo. And I got a very special guest for you. One of my personal favorite independent wrestlers out there. If you don't know him, I'm about to know him right now. It's about to get funky. Let me introduce to you without any further delay, JT Funk, the man.
Easy Funk.
I only came here for the rings. For the ring, for the ring, for the ring. I only came here for the rings. For the ring, for the ring, for the ring, for the ring, ring. For the ring, for the ring, ring. For the ring, let it ring. For the money, let it ring. Yeah. Who let you right in? Ring on me a glitz. I need ring like Russell was a hustle. Shit pass like Irv and talk like Will. I see a hell of fun. We can't take no loss. Like Lorenzo, we ball. Top off the Benzo, Lord. Pull up here to applaud. JT learn the name. He ain't coming for the fame. He ain't gonna play no game. I only came here for the rings.
The man is here with Schluter. There he is. JT Funk.
What's going on? What's going on, Sam? I'm so happy to be here tonight, man. I'm ready to get straight to it, man.
Oh, man, dude. Thank you for coming out and joining us here on The Shoot with Sam Schluter. All the virtual wrestling fans, they want to know what makes JT Funk so funky. Let them know.
Well, what makes JT funky, man? It's really the energy, man. It's a lot of things that I can do in the ring, but it's just electricity, man. It's just being able to adapt to the fans. And man, when I come out, man, it's just energy, like I hear a lot of people say, man, I could be a manager. I'm like, I don't know. Your energy has to be a little bit beyond mine. And if it's not above my energy, then it's not going to work out because I'm not supposed to outshine my manager. The manager's supposed to add, right? So,
right.
Yeah, man, I'm all about energy, man.
Have you ever had a manager before?
I have not. No, I haven't.
I don't think that's a good. You're right. He got to be as funky, as expressive, as boisterous as you are, and just high pack energy. And where does all that energy come from? Were you a little kid bouncing off the walls like Ricochet Rabbit? Pew pew pew.
Yeah, I was very interactive as a kid. I was one of those kids. Grew up watching wrestling. And we were always wrestling in the neighborhood. We would jump off of like first windows, second windows, just doing daredevil stuff. Obviously it came with a lot of bumps and bruises. But yeah, I was always that kid that was always into stuff and just always had energy. I was the kid that was always flipping off things and always taking things to the next level. And people were like, nah, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, well, just try it, So that's always been me.
Who was your favorite wrestler when you were growing up?
My favorite wrestler is the guy who got me into wrestling was The Rock. That was the first person that I seen, and the rest was history. Yeah, that's my favorite wrestler of all time.
The Rock, that's a good choice. I was a big Hulkamania fan when I was young. Growing up in the 80s, big Hulkamania, especially from Chicago. So when him and Mr. T got together, it was like Hulkamania, Mr. T. Oh, Mr. T's from Chicago. It was on and cracking. I used to go to school and I used to wear my socks on the outside of my pants, just like Mr. T and Hulk Hogan did.
Yeah, man, that was a fun time, man, to be a wrestling fan. I can only imagine what it was like during them times, man.
Yeah. And how old were you when you're like, you know what? I think I could do this for a living. Or I want to do this for a living.
Okay, so I started watching wrestling around 7 or 8, right? And I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was a fan of it. But it wasn't until I was about maybe 13 or 14 or maybe 12 or 13-ish. And I went to my first live wrestling event. And that's when I was like, oh, yeah, I want to do this, man. Because it was just a whole different experience. And like I said, I've been watching wrestling for so many years. I probably was watching about 8 or 9 years at that point. And when I got to see it live, that's when I was like, oh, yeah, I want to do this.
And how long did it take for you before you knew that it was work, that it wasn't like shoot, that it wasn't the real deal? Like,
I think immediately. My first day of training. You know, it was very difficult because even though I was athletic, I didn't do any sports prior to pro wrestling. I didn't do any sports in middle school, high school, college. I just never was. I just was naturally athletic, right? So a lot of the basic stuff that a regular athlete who played high school sports or college sports, a lot of this stuff will be easy, but it was very difficult for me, like footwork, body movement, motion, all that stuff. It was very difficult for me at first. And all the things that appear to be easy, like something simple as running the ropes, that looks so easy, but it was very hard.
yeah,
So
I had
yeah, a lot of it was instantly was like hard.
that first time you run them ropes. I remember, man. You go look in the mirror and you're like, oh man, okay, it does leave a mark.
Yeah, and then like back, taking a back bump, that was probably the one of the most unusual things naturally, right? It's like you're throwing yourself down to the ground without putting your hands, without trying to stop you from falling, right? That's like unnatural. Who throws themselves down on the ground? And so
Were you athletic? Were you into sports when you were a younger kid in high school and grammar school? Did you play basketball, football? No martial arts training, no nothing, just straight to the ring.
yeah, I was uncoordinated as hell. I didn't have no fundamentals of anything. Only thing I had was natural athletic ability, right? So shout out to my trainer Mark Haro. He does jujitsu. He studied all athletics and martial arts and all that stuff. And he was able to hone that athleticism into what I am now. So I owe a lot of credit to my trainer.
Now, what do you do? What does JT Funk do when you're not kicking ass in the squared circle? What do you do when you're on your downtime, when you're not wrestling? What does JT Funk do?
That's a good question. So my JT Funk LLC is my company, my brand, right?
Hmm.
My business, so to speak, and I own the trademark for JT Funk, right? So
Awesome.
the pandemic gave me this idea to look at myself more of like a business because I couldn't wrestle during the pandemic. So I'm like, damn, I have this demographic. I have a lot of people that follow me. How can I generate income, with wrestling? And I was selling a whole bunch of products and people were buying it. So I spent a lot of time promoting my brand. It's a lot of time. Like people don't understand that when you're promoting on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all these different platforms, it's a lot of work. Because it's not like, I post maybe once a month, get on here. Like this is a full-time job to promote and network myself. And this is how I'm getting all these opportunities because people are seeing me. I'm creating that visibility, right? So a lot of stuff. And I just got my website off the ground, thejtfunk.com. So like I have a lot of stuff going because I feel like anything I do in life, it has to be centered around my professional career. I think this will be the way to get me out there one day and make a living with this stuff, right? So everything is secondary. This is primary. So, like I said, obviously I go to the gym, I work out, but promoting myself and social media is like a huge, huge part of JT Funk's day. And I also got my own business cards too. So when I'm out and I'm talking to people, I give them my business card and they can check me out, check my website out. So
Right.
anything to promote myself to stand out and be different.
And everything's digital now, so you gotta have a web page. You gotta do this. You gotta be social media conscious and always be, always looking, pushing yourself forward and on social media. And I don't even think you need business cards anymore. They got this little thing where you touch phones and all of your little profile comes up now. You gotta look into that one.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I
You can
heard
make
about that too.
Yeah, you can make a digital JT Funk business card. Like your little theme song comes out when they touch your phone and stuff.
I like that idea.
Look at
I
that.
like that
Look,
idea,
I'm giving
man.
you free gimmicks, boy. I'm giving you free gimmicks. uh, so what do you got going on? What do you got going on currently right now? Yeah, I mean, with the pandemic still, hopefully seen the light at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic? And are you actively doing shows now? Are you wrestling? What's going on right now currently?
So it really, see, with this COVID and stuff, it's very difficult because, you know, I'm not vaccinated and I don't believe in being vaccinated, right? That's my own belief, right?
Right,
I
right.
wear my mask and stuff. I'm not reckless, right? And certain promotions in certain states make it a requirement, to be vaccinated, right? So
Athletic
it's just like,
commissions and stuff.
so I basically got to pick and choose where I can wrestle at until all this stuff clears up. So it's not a consistent schedule. Like, I don't wrestle every weekend. I'm
Hmm.
like, gradually here, gradually. I just wrestled in Wisconsin. I'm gonna be wrestling in Arizona for the first time in March. So my book is a little bit spaced out, but it's okay because, like, I'm focusing more so on the business aspect of the wrestling business, and networking and branding myself as a brand, right? So I just filmed my first movie, which that came out last year. So we're actually going to start working on a sequence, the part two, in June. But yeah, just wrestling for now. But I'm still doing other things in between, like movies, and trying to get really into the acting business.
So
But yeah,
you
so I'm doing
you
everything.
could add actor to your resume now too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can, but you, I think when we talk about what we do, I think it's very important. So for me, the pro wrestling or pro wrestler notation works well because a lot of people that I meet outside of wrestling, the first thing they say is, "I never met a pro wrestler before. That's so dope. That's so cool, right?" Whereas actor, it's more common. People will say they're actors more than anything. You could be anything, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm an actor." So I just like the surprise element. Like when people who don't really watch wrestling and they know, and I say I'm a pro wrestler, they like, "What, a pro wrestler?" So I think it catches people off surprise. So I just tell people pro wrestler.
Now, JT, what kind of movie we talking here? Is it a action movie? Is JT rolling around on the top on the hood of a car? Is it you? Are you like Mike Larry?
um. Well, I am. The movie is entitled Kingmaker. I also have the trailers on my Facebook. So if you go to my Facebook, you can check out the trailer and stuff like that. But the movie was called Kingmaker, and it's a kid that's 19 years of age, based out of no, I'm sorry, based out of Maryland, and he's trying to navigate through life, and he throw the producer throw the element of the game of spades, which I don't know if you know how to play spades, but it's
Yeah.
not a spades movie perhaps, but it's
Hmm.
based around the spades element. Whereas in the game of spades, he learned that you have to learn the house rules of spades, and I think that applies in life. Like, if I come into your house, I can't just do what I want to do. I have to ask you, "Hey, is it okay if I go in your
Right.
refrigerator? Is it okay?" So that's the lesson of the movie that this character learns. So I
That's
think it's a
very
really
interesting.
cool dynamic. But so we're trying to get the movie on Netflix right now. So
Is it like um is it like a gambling movie? You ever seen that movie Rounders with
no,
Matt
no, but
Damon about he's a poker player and he gambling? Is it something like that, or just about his his going through the game and learning it?
well, yeah, but the game translates to life as well. So I guess you can say that. Yeah, you
What
can say that as well. You can
what
say
kind
that.
what
That
kind of
makes
what
sense.
kind of spade player you are? You be sandbagging them books? You be
It's
I
so
got
funny that
three.
you say
I
that.
got three. You got
It's
full yard in their hand, huh? You look JT. You look like a little sandbagger. Like I only got three of the possible. Got
it's
full
so funny
yard for
that you
the
say that
number spades.
because I didn't even know how to play spades, and I'm the main character. I thought that was,
So you
and
had so you had to learn.
they taught me a little bit, and I learned, and still don't even remember how to play spades, which is sad. But the movie was really good, and yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
man, you
yeah.
should
Don't
not
tell
even.
nobody though.
The cat is out the bag. Some people might not invite you to the barbecue in summer. They're like, he don't know how to play spades. He don't know how to play spades.
That's
Oh man,
funny.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And was the acting thing something that you always wanted to do, or just something that fell upon you, or
Um, Now I don't think acting was something that I was passionate about. Like wrestling. Like wrestling is something I knew I wanted to do, right? And I was going to do anything, any means by necessary to make it happen, right? But whereas acting, I've always had the idea of being an actor or maybe even filming movies and stuff like that. It was something that I always thought about. Because also, like after wrestling, right? What do I want to do after wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Acting, that's something that I was potentially thinking about. And then one of the guys that I have met through the wrestling business, he's actually a manager. And he came to me like in 2020, and he was like, "Man, I have this movie I want to do, and I want you to be the lead role." And when you hear stuff, it's kind of like, okay, that's awesome, but when it happens, right? That's kind of how I was like. And yeah, he hit me up early 2021 and was like, "Yeah, man, we really doing this movie, and I want you to star in the movie, and we're gonna start filming in April of 2021." So we literally got the film done in like 4 months.
Nice. We'll be
But yeah,
looking
it
out
was
for
it was
that.
intense. And the negative aspect of filming is that you got to film the same scenes multiple times from
Yep.
different angles.
Yep.
It could be very tedious. Whereas me, like, I like to film in front of a live crowd, a live audience. I get to feel the energy, but you're on a set with other actors, and it's kind of hard because I don't know. It's just it's not as easy as you would think, but it's not as complex as you would think as well. It's just a lot of tedious, a lot of the same shooting scenes kind of thing. So it becomes tedious.
Right. Now, changing course a little bit. Um, Current day, do you watch product? Do you watch AEW? Do you watch WWE? Do you have time, Mister Traveling Actor Wrestler, Funk Master Flex of the wrestling business?
Well, I always have time to watch wrestling, but the thing is, I don't really get the chance to watch it live. I always go on YouTube and watch the playbacks and stuff like that, replays.
Yeah, a lot of
But
people do.
yeah, I do. I did watch the Royal Rumble live. I made time out my schedule. I had a couple things that I had to do, but I said no. I'm gonna push that back to another day, and I'm gonna sit in the house and relax and watch the Royal Rumble live. The Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and sometimes SummerSlam. But those two pay-per-views, Royal Rumble and WrestleManias, are like the
Were
two pay-per-views that, like,
Were you happy?
I sit down and watch.
Were you happy with the Royal Rumble?
I was not. I was not, because I'm an underdog guy. I always want the underdog to win.
Uh
I
huh.
don't. I really hate seeing the same people win a Royal Rumble or main event WrestleMania. I'm always for the underdog. So I was saying to myself, even though with Drew and Brock being the last two, Drew is still the underdog. So I was like, okay, Drew. I hope Drew wins, and then Brock won. I was like, oh man. And
That
then
was
I
revenge
guess I was
for the
okay with the
Claymore
Ronda
that
Rousey
kicked
one.
Brock out a couple of years ago. That was
Huh?
revenge. That was revenge from the Claymore that Drew
Oh
McIntyre
yeah,
gave. Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
But in my
Yeah.
opinion, the women's Royal Rumble was better than the men's this year.
Oh yeah, yeah, hands down,
Did you see?
definitely,
Did you see the
definitely.
homegirl Melina go on the twerk off against Sasha?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I
I love
popped.
Melina, so yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't love Melina? But I think they did her bogus. Like, damn, they put her out too early. What happened? I want to see a
Yeah,
little bit more of
exactly.
that split twerk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was awesome. So who's your? You said your favorite wrestler of all time is The Rock, but currently, who do you like from any promotion? Currently, who do you like?
Oh man, I'm gonna start with AEW, man, because the fascinating thing about AEW is they have a lot of young talent there, and I feel like I could fit right on in with the talent there. But man, I love a lot of the. Obviously, I love CM Punk, right? I watch because he's a veteran and he's giving back to the younger guys, and which is awesome. But I love seeing a lot of the veteran guys who know their stuff, who've been performing at a high level for a long time, and they be able to put on such a good match with a lot of the younger guys. But I'm really big on Hook. I love Hook because it's something different with him.
Uh huh.
I love Hook. Hook is just something refreshing. He
But
remind me of a Taz, right? Like Taz in a way. Um,
that's how they're building them. That's how
yeah,
they're
it's
building
it's
them.
always refreshing to see something different, man. And with Hook, man, yeah, I like Hook a lot.
For so who in AEW you like Hook a lot, and anybody in WWE?
Um, I really love Bianca Belair. Like I'm a huge Bianca Belair fan. I love what she's doing. Like I said, something different. her using her little hair and whipping people, like
Yeah,
that's just unique. And she's strong. Like, yeah, I like Bianca.
she's
On
strong.
the men's on the roster, I like a lot of people don't like Matt Riddle, but I like Matt Riddle because he's kind of like growing on me. He's funny. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? He legitimately did UFC MMA, so he could really kick your ass.
Right.
But so he's legit. So I like Matt Riddle. Roman Reigns obviously got he got it going on right now. It's nothing you can say bad about Roman right now,
Right.
right?
Right. For the fans out there that haven't seen JT Funk wrestle, how would you explain what type of wrestler are you? How would you explain? How would you
Say that one
explain?
more time. You
How
would
would
love.
you explain your? How would you, if for the people that haven't never seen you wrestle, how would you explain who JT Funk is in the ring? What is your wrestling style? How do you
Oh,
explain that?
okay. I would say I don't like to use the terminology high flyer because I do some high flying stuff, but I don't want to be looked at as a high flyer because I feel like I'm much more than that. So I would say maybe a brawler. I would say a brawler. Um, I would say a brawler because I don't. I throw a lot of strikes, a lot of jabs and stuff like that.
And
And
your
I do some
persona,
stuff off the top. Huh?
your you fight brawler, but your persona has so much like an outgoing personality. So
Yeah. So I think when you have a character that's so over, it don't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what your move set is. The people will get behind you. And I think I have one of those characters in such a strong dynamic with the audience that no matter what I do, that's why I'm able to put over such a drop, just a drop kick that I do, which everybody say I have a really beautiful drop kick, but a move so simple don't get that type of reaction at shows, right?
right,
You do a drop kick, oh, that's cool. But when I do it, it's like a whoa, like they go crazy for a drop kick. So a lot of the simple stuff that I do, I try to make it mean so much more because I'm not a guy who's going to hit you with a Canadian destroyer, give you a super kick, give you two super kicks. That's not me, right? When I look at all the big stars like The Rock, Hogan, Cena, everything that they did was big. It was larger than life, right? So if I want to be the next big superstar, I have to portray myself like that. So that's why my style is like a Hogan or like a Cena, like kind of the same style every match, but may throw some different stuff in there every now and again. But I'm also safe. I'm not putting my body through a lot of stuff. So
hmm
it's just being smart.
have you ever heard of old school wrestler Iceman King Parsons?
I've heard, but I don't really know too much about him. I've heard a little bit about him.
You remind me of him, like a younger version of him. He was like our truth before our truth. But he wasn't like all comedy, you know? He wasn't comedic wrestler, but just his the way he lit up a room when he came. Look him up. He's you remind me like a new version of him with the way you come and the way you come into the ring and everything's funky and you got a good attitude and it's just you're bigger than life once you step into those ropes and I appreciate all the work that I've seen you done and I'm just, eager to see more from JT Funk and what the future holds for you. And what do you think the future holds for yourself?
Honestly, one of my big goals, honestly, is to obviously the wrestle for the WWE or AEW, right? I think that's any wrestler's goal. But for me, since I've been in the business this long, 7 years, just my goal is just to, if I could make a living at doing this, I would be happy with that, right? Because everybody's not gonna make it to WWE.
Right.
And if I can make a living with doing this, wrestling on the indies, I would be really happy with that. And I know I can't do it for so long, but I really definitely want to wrestle in like a different country, like a Japan or like a Italy or something like that. That's definitely something off my bucket list that I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's and I want to commend you for all of your social media presence, because that's how I found out about you. Going on social media and seeing somebody share the video and I'm like, oh man, and I like this guy. Let's see what else he got. To click on a link and find more stuff about JT Funk. Oh, he got a page. and I follow you on Facebook, and that's how we contacted you, you know, and I like that about you. And just kind of like Matt Cardona, he get himself over on social media before even like actual wrestling. Who also recently Dan Housing like has gotten himself over on social media, and now that he's
Mhm.
unfortunately injured, like his social media presence is like very more active, and like he's a funny guy. So, and I noticed that, I noticed throughout the whole pandemic, yeah, you were selling shirts, and I noticed you got a lot of fans, little kid fans, and they buy your shirts, and a lot of female fans and male fans. So, I want to commend you on all on your social media work. So that's important in today's time, So, I'm looking forward to seeing good things from you. So if the fans want to get if they want to get to follow you, if they want to follow you, if they want, hey, the bookers out there, if you're watching this, you want to book JT Funk for your wrestling show, how do they get in contact with you?
Well, first and foremost, my website is thejtfunk.com. So that's my actual website that tells you a little bit more about me, what I do, how long I've been doing. Anything you want to know about me is directly on my website, because, yeah, that's important. I want to give people an option. Not a lot of wrestlers have their own website, so I like to be different. My Instagram, my Twitter, everything is at the JT Funk. I try to keep it simple as possible. So all my social medias is at the JT Funk. Facebook, you just type JT Funk, it'll come right up. Um, and yeah, man. So definitely contact me if you want to work. I'm willing to fly out there to you. Drive. If I'm booked on a show, I'm definitely gonna be there. So. And I'm one of those guys who I'm really easy to work with. Right. A lot of times you're not gonna always agree with the promoter. You're not always gonna agree with people, but I just try to come to like a common ground with people. Like, oh, like it's a promoter suggested this. And I'm like, I like that, but what if we change this or tweak this a little bit? I always try to be like, I'm never one of those guys like, no, I'm not doing it. That's stupid. Why would I do that? I'm always trying to, make amends. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. And if you're ever in the Orlando area, give me a call, man. Dude, we need to hang out. We need to hang
oh
out.
man, look, I'm actually working on it. I'm actually working on it, man. Because I got a guy out there by the name of Chico Adams, one of my
Uh,
good friends out
mm-hmm.
there. I don't know if you know him, but he's in that area. He wrestled for WXW.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's one of the Wild Samoans promotions out there.
Right.
The Anoa'i family, and yeah, I've been talking to him for a while. So it might be happening sooner rather than later. But I'm gonna
And
definitely keep you in mind if that happens.
yeah, and we're gonna have you back on the show again in the future. Don't worry about it. But yeah, you're in the Orlando area. I need to chill with JT Funk. We need to have a beer or something.
What you see is what you get, man. It's not a front. This is not a character. This is really who I am, and that's why I think this JT Funk character has been so successful because it's an extension of me, right? And being the baby faces, I think is really hard, because if you think about it, uh in life, it's harder to get people to like you. It's harder to get people to accept you for whatever it is, that beliefs that you have. It's harder, but it's so much easier to be an a-hole, right? An asshole. I can just walk up to you and say, what the fuck are you looking at, right?
Right, right,
Excuse my expression, but and
right.
then you don't like me automatically, right? So I think a lot of people want to be a heel because I'm not saying it's an easy job, but I think when we look at the context of pissing people off, it's a lot easier to piss people off as opposed to
And,
get them to like you, right?
and you know what?
So
I'm glad you touched up on that because that was a question I had back in the back of my mind. I know you a face. Do you ever foresee yourself, flipping the script and going heel? A lot of
yeah,
wrestlers
because
like heel. A lot of wrestlers like to play heel. A lot of
yeah.
wrestlers a lot of wrestlers think different from you. A lot of wrestlers think, you know, it's easy to play heel, because it's easy, or it's hard to play heel or whatever. However it is. But do you think one time, you flip the script?
Oh yeah. But I think I haven't had any promoters say that yet because they see how really good I am as a baby face. I've trained, my trainer had me training as a heel and working heels, just kind of getting, the styles and understanding how to work a heel, which is really brilliant on his part, right? But when you talk about generating a audience and demographics and bringing people out to the crowd, because you know I'm a different type of baby face. I'm not a regular baby. Like I'm a different type of baby face. I consider myself like a old school baby face, right? Because I don't do a whole lot of I try to mix a little bit of new stuff with the old stuff to
Mm-hmm.
make it, you know, so everybody can be like, oh, that's cool, right? But I don't do a whole lot of fancy stuff, right? I just make all the stuff that I do look really good. But yeah, absolutely. I can see myself doing it, but I think I want to reach uh the highest level that I can as a baby face, right? Like Hulk Hogan did, or like a Stone Cold, and then I'll flip, right? But as far as like wrestling on the indies, because I think wrestling on the indies, it's not a lot of people investing money into you, right? So with me being a heel, if I'm not really being paid, you know, if I'm just being paid to just show up to your show once a month, it doesn't sit right with me just being a heel just for your show. Then I got to portray a heel online. It's going to mess up a lot with that I have going on. So if I have a promoter who's really investing in me, and I mean like somebody sign me so contract, then I'll turn heel. But wrestling on the indies, I'm gonna be a babyface for a while, for a long time, unless like, you know, yeah, I don't think so. Not on the indies.
I'm gonna hook you up. It's free gimmick giveaway Friday. Here it goes. Look. JT Funk face. You turn heel. JT Punk. For you.
so
Oh,
then,
oh,
so then,
oh.
now with me trademarking my name, so now I have to change the F and put a P and then trademark Punk too.
Yeah. You know what? And do the opposite. Like go like Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Keep it black, dye it blonde. Keep the beard black, dye it blonde right here. You be like Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Big Papa Pump all rolled in one with Lil Funk.
And that's what I try to stay away from, man. I don't ever want to be on a show and somebody say, you know, like, you know, you remind me of, oh yeah, so and so. Like that's why I don't do the rock bottom. I don't do RKOs, cutters. I don't do none of that, because when you do moves that are by nationally known wrestlers, they're going to think of that. Like, oh yeah, Shelton Benjamin do that, or so and so do that. So I always try to like add my own little spin to it, right? So
But it's so hard to come up with something new nowadays. Like almost everything is done. And this is where you get a lot of the Cirque du Soleil thing happening when somebody's trying to create some new stuff.
so I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna give you two examples. The drop kick, for example, simple move, very basic move, right? But a lot of guys that I see use the drop kick, they'll use the drop kick in like a shine, like arm drag, drop kick, or hip toss, body slam. They get up, drop kick, they powder, right? They use it in that facet. Me, I use the drop kick as a big move. Nobody uses the drop kick as a big move. We're like a cutoff, right? And that's the difference. And my arm drag that I do is an arm drag that I do. If you watch one of my highlight videos, everybody does arm drags too, a regular basic arm drag. But I do an arm drag in a corner where I'm in the corner. I kick my leg up, they catch it, throw it, and then as soon as my legs bounce back, I jump down and arm drag them and they roll. And it's just such a cool dynamic. Nobody's seen that before and nobody does it. And that's how I like it. Obviously, somebody probably going to steal it eventually, but I just try to do the simple stuff, turn the simple stuff to something a little bit more flashy, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, brother. We're gonna sign out right now. Stick around. When I go off camera, I got something to talk to you about. But thank you for hanging out with us. Man, I wish we could hang out a little bit longer. Time flies when you're having fun. It was such a pleasure. Like I said, we're gonna have you back here again. We might have JT Punk back or Funk. We don't know. We don't know. But we are definitely gonna have you back. And like I said, open invite. Contact me when you come out here to Orlando. All right, brother.
Absolutely, will do, man.
All
Will
right,
do.
hang around. Don't go nowhere, brother.
All right.
All right, virtual wrestling fans. That's it. 30 minutes with the Funk Master JT Funk. You see it. You heard it here. Sam Schluter, the straight shooter with the shoot.
Easy Funk.
I only came here for the rings. For the ring, for the ring, for the ring. I only came here for the rings. For the ring.